Well, I've got about 20 hours worth of material here today talked about, so we'll condense it down as best we can. The notes you have are actually from a workshop I did in Texas, let's see, about a year ago. I did a 3-hour workshop just on underwater photography, included a section on 3D. Now what I'm going to do, since we probably have a very diverse group here, I'm going to let you look at some of these bulleted items on here. There's room on them so you can take notes and the like. And I'm going to talk about some of the 3D topics and considerations that are required in underwater photography, and also a little bit about underwater photography in general, and also a little bit about diving. I don't know how many of you are planning to head underwater and take pictures, but there are definitely some considerations there required for getting successful pictures. You can spend all kinds of money to do 3D underwater photography. Many of you have seen the 3D IMAX films, and for that, you need a camera which you're not going to afford because it basically requires something the size of a Volkswagen Beetle by the time they encase it in underwater housing for 3D. That's getting smaller all the time, and it costs a lot of money. There are lots of good equipment. Bill over here has got, why don't you hold up your RBT for a second. Bill's got a housing for that, for underwater housing for the RBT, which is available, and you got that from, was it a company in Germany, was it? Yeah. And so there's a whole range of equipment. I'm basically a poor person when it comes to financial resources. So, back when I was a kid, I got an erector set, and that kind of got me on my mechanical ends of things. Again, as I mentioned, I got a Viewmaster, as was mentioned, and I got interested in photography real early. Now, I started tinkering around with really simple cameras, and I'm going to actually pass around an old viewer here. If I think I can find the view that I've got. I've taken some really nice pictures with this rig right over here in shallow water. You can buy these disposable cameras that are good all the way down to about 12 or 15 feet. There are now available. As a matter of fact, I forgot to bring the address along here, but there is these little housings that these cameras are actually good down to about 40 or 50 feet. So it's a really simple way to get into 3D underwater photography. These particular ones are reloadable, by the way. If you know how, most of these little disposable cameras, if you know how to take them apart carefully, you can reload them. They actually give you directions with this one to do that. So it's a really inexpensive way to get into underwater photography. Snorkeling, you don't have to buy an RBT or any other fancy cameras, of which there are, or have them custom designed for you. And as a matter of fact, it's really nice when we put them together this way, because you can use both of your index fingers. And I'll waste a couple of pictures here. If you listen to the shutters, you can get pretty good at it. Now, I do an awful lot of twinning of cameras, but what I call biological twinning versus electronic or mechanical twin cable releases. And biological twinning works pretty good for me. Now, if you listen real carefully, I mean, those two shutters, for all intents and purposes, are pretty darn close. You can't do a flash with this, but I find with these cameras underwater, the flash is useless because you're not going to find clear water. I mean, perfectly clear water. All these flashes do is illuminate all the particulate matter out in front of you. So a system like this is ideal without the flash, and use it for, take it snorkeling. It's really super. If you take it snorkeling, you'll get some fabulous pictures.
How far down can you go before there's not enough light?
Well, it all depends on the time of the day and the condition of the water. If you go down to the Cayman Islands, around noontime, I've actually taken pictures with something like this, down around 40 feet, 50 feet, no problem at all. Because this is 400 speed film in here. And if you want, you can actually reload it with something faster, or take the film out yourself and push process it if you want. It's 400 speed film, boost it up to 800 if you want. to do a little bit more. So this is by far the cheapest way to start getting into underwater photography. And I like to mention that because, you know, everyone's, you know, I still carry this thing around with me only because, number one, it's a good bailout thing, and, you know, I always like to, you know, introduce people into 3D and, you know, underwater, so I'll bring this along and let them, you know, give it a try. And up here I do have, I can pull it out real quickly. I hope I've got it, yeah, it's in here. What I'll do is I'll pass around a step, yeah, we'll just do one of them right now. And, you know, I mean, since we have old-fashioned equipment here, we might as well, you know, you might as well have a look at it with an old viewer. So, you know, this pair here is actually a, you know, a cropped down. I had 4x6 prints made and cropped them down to about 3.5 by 5 and put them into here. And just to show you the quality, this particular image here was taken at about 20 feet. Whoops, a little divider got. And you're all welcome to have a look at that. Now, oops, let me see if we can. I'll tape that in place there. You got a piece of tape handy or whatever. You can see if you can fix that, Bill. Okay. And then, you know, straight, it just wobbles around a little bit. And I'll let you have a look at that. So, at 20 feet, you're going to be shocked at what those little cameras can do. The big mistake a lot of people do with those disposable cameras is to use the flash. You know, because you're front lighting all that junk that's in the water. I mean, you can't see it a lot of times. Yes?
Have you ever loaded those cameras with slide film?
I've never tried to. I've been tempted to do that, but you don't have a lot of control. I just may try it one of these days just for the heck of it, just see what it'd do in daylight. Because you have no control over shutter speed or f-stop. And I just might do it.
Who makes that particular camera? Is it possible to get that mail order?
You know, you can. This is called, let's see, Snap Sights Waterproof. Let me see, I've got an address. There should be an address on it. As a matter of fact, I'll pass it on. You can take whatever information you want off it. Yeah, this one is good too. This one's good, actually. It says 73 feet. This particular one, yeah, that's right. They sent me new housings for these things. They're good to 73 feet. So there is not an address on it, I'm afraid. But if you want to have a look at it, this is just that double sticky foam tape. Put them together, and you're in business. And of course, do all your trimming. And I think you got to admit that's not too bad for a disposable. You know, a little grainy with the you know, with the 400 film, but at least you have the picture. And you know, I'm not a purist, absolutely, in this 3D business. You know, there are a lot of purists in the business. I go on something called the wow factor. If people look at it, wow, hey, yeah, I'm happy. You know, it may not be perfect, but as long as I say wow, I'm pleased. That's for sure. Okay, well, as I say, I've been diving since 1960 and building underwater camera housing for single camera since 1962. And I basically sold the last of my flatty stuff about 3 or 4 years ago, you know, underwater housings and all. I still have my original housing I built, but in 1962. But other than that, all the flatty stuff is gone. I've just been committing myself to, you know, the 3D end of it. Now, the workhorse of the underwater professionals for a good number of years was this little camera right here. And we're going to show you a little later, we're going to show you pictures taken with all of these things. And this is the Nikonis 3 camera. It's an interchangeable lens system over here. You can still buy these on the used market. It is still the preferred camera of a lot of pros, even though this camera goes back, you know, a good number of years, probably 20, 25 years now. I own about 6 of these things, you know, and I keep them going, you know. And one right now is turned into another parts camera, and it's a beautiful system because, you know, basically, when I've got the lens open here, and you know, for 3D purposes, I've taken off one of the body openers to get them closer together, as you'll see. But it will work. Put on the tape, it works better. There it comes. Okay. So basically, it's nothing more than a box. This is a film, basically goes here, and you end up basically having a rangefinder type camera. Now this is a basic camera body that I've used for years, and but it's undergone. I used to use this for single cameras. You know, this was my point and shoot I carried with me all the time. You know, I have my wetsuit on and have my nice big underwater housing. I just tuck this under my wetsuit just to have it as a point and shoot. Because anytime you're shooting macro, what happens, gang?
Yeah, the big fish come.
The big fish come by, or the big creatures come by. If you're shooting big stuff, the small stuff comes by. So yeah, I always carry one of these around with me, you know, underwater anyway. Now, quite a few years ago, when Kodak first came out with those little disposable cameras, I picked a couple of them up, glued them together, and was shocked at the results. And I said, you know, I'd been tinkering with underwater 3D. I'd made a crude housing. It leaked a bit, and I didn't destroy the camera, but I said, yeah, that's kind of fun, so this does have some potential. That goes back probably about, oh, I don't know, when did those things come out? About 15, 20 years ago, something like that. Now, I did do some experimenting over the years by taking, you know, a couple of these Nikonis cameras, and I think I have one of the bars right here. Now, you know, one of the big problems underwater is the distance that you are between your camera and your subject. Between you and your subject here on Earth, we have air. Not much of a problem. Underwater, you have water. Even though the water is perfectly clear, something happens, and that something is that the red light drops out very, very quickly. Now you're going to notice in the pictures that in the shallow pictures without flash, without the extra light, the pictures all of a sudden start to get very blue. What happens, as soon as the deeper you go, the more and more blue is in the pictures, because the reds, then the oranges, then the yellows drop out of the scene. Now, I'm not going to take the base plate that I've made for this thing off here, but this little plate right over here basically has nothing more than a 1/4-20 hole. Here's a 1/4-20 thread, and you can use this, by the way, for making verticals for other cameras, as you're going to see. A lot of what we're going to see here today is simple things you can do to take any two cameras and put them together. And don't be afraid to do that. And basically, here's a 1/4-20 screw. You can buy it at a hardware store. Get a hacksaw, cut it off, file off the ends, screw one end into the this camera, and literally screw the other, put a hole here and screw the other camera to the base of it. Now, of course, it's not going to match up. You know, one camera might be kind of, you know, twisted around. So what you do is you add a few pieces of electrical tape, which will hold underwater, and you add enough tape so that when you tighten them up, they're pointing roughly in the same direction. And this was one of the first you know, brackets over here that I made for, you know, using two, you know, underwater cameras. And you can do this for any type of camera that has even on land, a type of camera that has a you know, tripod socket. And usually, not in all cameras, but usually they put the tripod socket right underneath the optical center of the lens. That's not always the case. Now, I didn't bring it along, but of course, if you want verticals, you do that, and you get the lenses nice and close. Now, you've all heard of the 1/30th rule, and I'm just sort of checking off things that are on the list over here. You know, the 1/30th rule in underwater, you don't have to, you can go to 1/10 or 1/15, no problem at all, because you don't have a lot of stuff in the distance. Yeah, basically, the shorter your range of you know, subject matter distance-wise, the further apart the lenses are to work nicely. You know, there are times, you know, a lot of people say, oh, gee, that's too far apart. You know, people don't like, you know, putting your cameras too far apart. It makes things look small. But if you want to have depth to show the distance across the Grand Canyon, I love hyper. You know, and you know, I love macro. You're going to see some fun macro here in a minute. Again, I'm not going to spend too much time with the principles unless you have any specific questions. Again, these notes were made up for a non-3D group. Now. Okay, you all know about two-lens parallax. Okay, 1/30th rule. I generally work at around, you know, 1/10 or somewhere in there. Now, dedicated 3D cameras. For underwater 3D, you don't have a lot of choices. You know, you can take a, you know, an RBT or some camera like that. If you have enough guts, yeah. Bill's got enough guts. He's got a housing to do it, but I'm sure every time he goes underwater, it's with a little bit of trepidation, and it's a clear plastic housing, right? So you can kind of watch the tide come up and bring it up in time. Do you have a sub-alert for it?
Absolutely.
Okay, a sub-alert is yeah, I figured that'd be a good investment for you. Sub-alert is basically a moisture detection device, and actually it puts a vacuum on the inside, and as soon as a slight change in pressure, there's also come with the moisture detection and the vacuum.
No moisture detection, but basically the idea is that with a typical housing that you put a camera into. The housing is designed to actually get tighter, to close better as you go down the water.
Pressure
So
flow.
what you do with a sub-alert is you actually evacuate the housing, pump air out of the housing, and it has a digital gauge that monitors the pressure in the housing. You evacuate the housing, you let the housing sit for 30 minutes. You come back 30 minutes and the pressure has not changed in the housing, then you know you haven't got an air leak. And the housing at that point already thinks it's in 15 feet of water.
Yeah. So now, if you were to develop a crack or a leak or something, what would happen is some water would come in, but the pressure would start to go up on the inside and immediately warn you. So there are ways of protecting your expensive investments. The nice thing about these cameras, if water gets into them, there's no electronics to worry about, and you can rinse it out in fresh water, get a hairdryer, and keep going. This is designed for just that kind of thing. That's why I love this thing over here. You put that in salt water, and it's goodbye.
It is.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Now, what I have now for horizontal pictures, I love horizontal format myself. I try to shoot that mostly. And of course, it's easy to get a bar, get 2 holes, put 2 screws on the bottom, and mount your camera side by side. But of course, when you're underwater every once in a while, you like to have both. You know, it's kind of nice to have your cake and eat it too. So I'll show you a way to do that. And this is a device that kind of evolved out of the device that I use for my. I'm going to build one with this coming up shortly. See, I was going to house something like this. No way. It's too monstrously big. I mean, that's for sure. Now, most of you are aware of the fact, you know, these many lenses are off-center. So what I've done with these 2 Nikon N90s is have one upside down. This really raises a lot of eyebrows. You walk down the street with this kind of thing. You know, you have number one, 2 cameras. The nice thing about the N90 is they're linked to. They do have a cable that Nikon actually sells that allows you to actually have one camera be the slave of the other. That works with the 100 also, and give you a little demo of that real quick. So if you have the guts enough and you don't mind having a big monstrous kind of housing, you do have the capability of, you know, with just one shutter, whoops, there we go, with one, there we go, you can see both of the autofocus units going at the same time. It doesn't always sync with the flash, but you know, that's a continuous hassle with you know, twinning cameras together. I have come up with a solution to that for darkly lit situations. I spend a lot of my time diving at night, and I will talk about why a little bit later. And do a lot of diving at night, and you know, there are some interesting ways of solving the flash problems, as we'll talk about here in a moment. Okay, now this is basically 2 cameras side by side. Now you're all welcome to have a look at this thing afterwards. By the way, this is just a viewfinder. I don't have the 15mm lenses with me here today, but these are interchangeable. You go 15, 20s, or 28mm lenses. But this is a fun gadget. This is an underwater light meter, dedicated underwater light meter, sitting here on the top. So what's really nice about this, and I'm going to eventually build one for that rig, you got 2 screws here, and actually it's easier underwater. You just do that, and bingo, you're into vertical. Okay, so this is definitely something that, okay, there's what it is, vertical, you ready? Okay. And then you basically gotta do the correct one first over there. And now you'll understand, Bill, why I took off the 2 pieces. I can get the interocular down even closer. This has little, you know, straps on the side over there. You know, little strap holders on the side. So, and actually underwater, that is pretty easy thing to do.
Now, how wide a lens can you put on that?
15.
15, and they don't see each other?
No, oh no, the 15s will not see each other if they're at the same, yeah. And as a matter of fact, if I put the 2 Nikon S3s belly to belly, there's no problem with them seeing each other even though they're closer. The newer version of this, which Nikon has dropped, by the way, is the Nikon S5, which is a little bit wider camera. Looks a little bit more like an SLR, but it has electronics, and both of mine have long since flooded. I've stripped out the electronics, and I still use them as basic cameras. But you know, I'm a firm believer in, you know, good old light meters for situations. You know, even with a flash, you know, underwater, you've got some really interesting situations where, you know, you want to illuminate something with a flash, but you like to have the background blue a certain color. You can actually, adjust the shutter speed, f-stop, and output of your flash to actually control how blue your backgrounds are. That's the same type of thing you do with any fill flash or anything like that. You can actually, control the, different layers. And again, with the time we've got, this is going to be a real quick just introduction, and we'll get your mind going on this sort of thing. Okay, so there are dedicated cameras, twin cameras, are just too much of a hassle. And again, we'll talk about some of the underwater photography a little bit later. Now, this rig over here is, I've had this for about 1.5 years, and it's a really fun gadget. About 2 years ago, I picked up an ISO duplex, and I said, wow, now that has just about the right lens spacing for my, for the close-up work that I want to do. The wide-angle work, basically I can work with it, 3.5 inches when their cameras are vertical to what we have here. But we'll take this apart real quickly over here, and basically we have in here that's the flash connection. Of course, this allows me to do flash. You've got your good old 1950s ISO duplex, and you're welcome to have a look at this a little bit later. We've got a gear to change the focus. This is when I'm down there with all these people with their fancy new equipment. I'm down there sitting there cocking the shutter and winding the film, watching the numbers go by through the back of the film right over here. This is real retro. But since your eyesight goes a little bit, if you notice, I've built some lenses into the housing over here so I can actually look at it from the back and actually see the numbers a bit better without. And I actually have reading glass diopters built into my face mask anyway. So you add that with that, you can see the numbers pretty well. So basically all the camera controls are here in this rig. Now, if any of you have one of these cameras, they're really neat. It's basically a 120 camera, and if you look in the back, you see the film goes vertically, and it basically shoots 24 pairs that are just about almost square. Now, it turns out that I just picked up one of these on eBay recently, and it didn't have the film guide. And I said, so what I'm going to do, so I had machined up a new film guide, and I haven't blackened it up yet. And as a matter of fact, if any of you have any ISO duplex, I'm going to see if anybody, the machine still has the measurements for these, but I've actually, you've got more wiggle room. This little gadget here can take the place of the one that's in there, and I've widened out the opening quite a bit, so you've got a lot of kind of wiggle room for mounting your pictures. Now, the reason I did that is you can now get, I've also modified this camera, I'll tell you how to do it, to get a little bit closer. If you have a camera and if you want to send it to me to modify it for a small fee, I can. But there's the gear that it turns out that the focusing knob isn't a knob, but a gear. I happen to have a gear that matches the teeth in that. So basically, as we turn that, it goes from 1 meter to infinity. So I took it apart and I said, these things will actually focus all the way down to 18 inches if I take out the little stop pin. So you just take out you just pull the stop pin, put it away. You just, if you want to keep the historical value of the camera, and you put that in a drawer somewhere and hope you don't lose it. And bingo, you now have a camera that'll focus now down to 18 inches. And this is absolutely fabulous camera. You're going to see some pictures. We're going to get to the pictures pretty soon over here. My goodness gracious, time flies. Okay, so so we're now down from simple to we got wide angle. We got our sort of medium range covered over here. I've got about 7 different gadgets of one sort or another. Not all here today, obviously. Where'd I put the cover to this thing? Here it is, right here. Okay. Oh, this has a couple of other nice features built into it, by the way. We'll show you that real quick. By the way, we're not going to spend a lot of time getting into lighting. That's more of a straight underwater photography thing. I'll either use a single or a double flash, which can be mounted onto here. Cable comes out of here. And I've actually got a flash with a bracket. You can just disconnect here and move the flash around so you can do some pretty creative lighting. We'll show you a couple of fun shots here today. But this thing has another nice feature in that there's a little magnetic reed switch. This camera's fun going through security, let me tell you, because there are 6 AA batteries in the thing, and there's some really crude-looking wiring in here. But there's also a reed switch, and you put there's a magnet in that piece of Velcro. You put it over there, and since I do most of my diving at night, if we kill the lights real quick, this is kind of fun. Okay, if we can just kill lights real quick, this is kind of fun. You see, that's good. You see all the controls are all lit up in a good red LED, so I can read all the numbers underwater that I need. Now, it also has another feature. Prior to the dive, I can actually I've got 2 laser pointers built into it, and basically you put the shutter button partway down, and as soon as oh, bingo, that's the place to take the picture right there. Okay, you can preset it for a particular dive, you know, for a particular size object. Yeah, so this works pretty good. And I can adjust the mirror. You can bring the lights up now. I can adjust this mirror out to the side. There's one laser coming out to the side, one shooting straight out from underneath the lens. So it gives you your, and I was going to use a beam splitter, but it cuts the power of the laser in half. So I wanted, you know, to have this, you know, usable during the daytime too. So this basically allows me to, you know, for the close-up stuff. You know, what I'll do, not to scare a fish, by the way, let's say I want to take a picture of your name tag, Dennis, but I'll go over to Bill, and I'll get it set up right about there, and then I'll just, that distance I'll mark in my head, and I'll come over to, quickly go over to the fish with the laser off, and go click. So again, there's a lot of tricks here we'll pass on to you. Now, my really fun camera attachment, so to speak, is this rig right over here. And, let me turn the batteries off here. There we go, just flip that around the other way. Now, I want you to imagine that, look, I gotta take one of these cameras off here. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Now, these cameras are interchangeable. A lot of my systems, you know, are like the good old director set days when I was a kid, you know. Everything, you take it apart, put it together again. This is nothing more than a waterproof box for 2 very good lenses. Actually, the lenses are out of the Honeywell Repronar slide copier. There's a pair of those. One here, right angles to each other. And in here is a true beam splitter, and I say that for the benefit of any of the photo 3Ders here that are always in that debate about what a beam splitter is. This is a true beam splitter, and it's a half-silvered mirror, and we'll basically draw you a quick diagram over here. Basically, we have a half-silvered mirror right here. And let's say our subject is over here. And there's one camera, there's one lens back here which goes out to our subject. Let's say make a bigger beam splitter out this way. Now, the other camera mounts on top. The other camera body mounts on top, looks down here, and also out at the subject. Now, the beauty of this system right over here is that I have this back lens over here is, let's see, where's our special tool number 4? Here it is right over here. When you make camera equipment, you also have to make the special tools that go with it. Okay.
Who makes the beam splitter? Honeywell?
No, the beam splitter is just a half-silvered mirror you get from Edmund Scientific. You know, okay. So here's the inside of it. The beam splitter's here. Okay? Now, this lens is attached to a little circular back, which is waterproof, and it turns out I have 4 of those that I machined out. And this is the extreme one over here. Notice the hole's offset. I can put it on this way or this way, and with 4 of these I have interocular spacings by shifting that back camera anywhere from 1 millimeter to 22 millimeters. Okay, so, and then what I can do, they also make these pretty standard item from Macro on this camera system. They have extension tubes, so I can take extension tubes. I can set my interocular, I can set my extension tube for my magnification. You make up some framers which go on the front here, quickly tighten into place, and you go up and you want to get a picture of this camera right over here, and you end up, going click. You want a picture of the inside over there. Will I focus close or not? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
We'll give you a quick round of that. There you go. Okay. So, and various framers all the way from little tiny critters right here, all the way up to, that's about the maximum size that I'm using with the this is actually a little over 4 by 6 inches. So that gives you an idea of the scale of things there. Now, we get 10 minutes to look at some pictures. And we're going to quickly rush through them, and we'll talk about some of these things, and hopefully we'll get some, wow, okay. Let's hope this thing's going to work. So let me get my glasses over here. And, now it covers the 3 systems I wanted. Come on, oh, that's good. Okay. By the way, I have, if you get down to the island of Curacao, back in 1998, I opened up a theater down there at Curacao Sea Aquarium. You get down to Curacao, make sure you go to the aquarium. And many of the slides you're seeing here are shown 3 times a day down at the aquarium there. Okay, if we can close the door there, that'd be great. And we're just gonna, I'm going to quickly run like a whole tray of slides for 10 minutes. We're quickly going to go through them all. These are taken with just 2 Myconuses side by side. This is your average kind of reef scene here and here without any light. And by the way, you can't light up a scene like this with a flash anyway. So the flash is, you know, the lack of flash is not a real problem. And again, for wide angle use, for going through wrecks, you can see from those bubbles, there's really no displaced bubbles. There's a piece of dust on the slide over there. But you get really good at firing the 2 shutters at the same time. And also on land, this is a good thing to remember. Do it with real determination. You know, don't, if you want to hit a shutter button on 2 separate cameras, you know, don't hesitate or be, you know, pussyfoot around on it. I mean, really click, you know, just really, preferably use both index fingers and just really give it a good shove. And again, these pictures here were all taken about 40 feet with available light with ASA 200 film, just to give you an idea of scale. Now, macro is my, and close-up on my real fun things. These are all taken with a macro rig. We're quickly going to go through them. Yes, that was roughly 4 by 4. This is right using the bigger of those framers that I showed you. I'm not going to get into the biology or anything here. This is using a smaller framer. To give you an idea of scale, you see little tiny fish down in the bottom. Those little tiny white specks inside the sponge. Those are all, oops, let me close. I'm going to make this lamp housing a little loose there. There we go. Whoops, hold on, there we go. Whoops, there we go, one more ahead. There we go. Here's the star of my school show that I go around with. This is Samson the frogfish. Give you an idea of scale, he's about 4 inches tall. Really cute critter. We'll see more of him a little bit later. These are cup corals. The scene here is 2 by 3 inches. This is brain coral up close, and we're talking really up close. The scene now is about 4 by 6 inches, and now we're down to about 2 by 3 inches on the brain coral. And there's just one brain coral called the bigger thing you see down the bottom, one brain coral polyp. And again, these are all, I want you to notice this whole scene's again 2 by 3 inches. This is what we call a soft coral or Gorgonian coral. This is a orange ball corallimorph, and this is a beautiful example of why 3D photography is so important in science. Close one eye, and that scene disintegrates into nothing. Notice that? The arms of that corallimorph are totally transparent. So, you know, the one-eye version of that, or the flatty version, totally becomes useless information. But, you know, at the end of each arm, those little orange balls over there. There's an anemone, a little shrimp, and when you move in real close, there's one of the little shrimp sitting right there. That's a little, I'll crop it a bit tighter, won't quite hurt so much on the edges, but that'll come later. Now, you know, when you're down there at night, you have worms free floating around in the water, you bump into those, but a lot of the worms in the ocean are quite beautiful. And there are some of them right here. We'll, again, quickly, we've got 80 slides to go. Oops, sorry. Yeah, there we go. 80 slides to go. So these are Christmas tree worms, feather duster worms on coral, brain coral that's out at night. This whole scene, 2 by 3 inches. While I'm going through the pictures, I want to talk a little bit about the depth of field. The lenses that I have are the Honeywell Reprinar lenses, which on their own would stop down to f32, but I moved them down a bit more, so occasionally down to f48. At f32, by the way, at a magnification of about 2 to 1, an f32 is actually an f48 anyway, and that's how we're getting away. We need a lot of light. I'll talk a little bit about light. Watch out in the front row. There's a 1.5 foot long squid about to grab a fish there. Now look at the depth of field. The spines on that sea urchin are 4 inches long and I am 12 inches from it. Yeah, that's depth of field sitting. Yeah, and again, the reason you get away with that is, well, if you look through one eye, look through the other eye, each of those pictures is focused in a slightly different place. The lenses are not matched as far as their focal, actual focal length. It just doesn't, it's hard to do that, and that's an advantage. You've got a slightly different place that's in focusing to the pictures in your brain. There's a mirrorless image processor, and it'll actually, 3D photography actually extends your depth of field. Which is another benefit. Whoops, how's that? Is that what happens to this thing? It does it every once in a while, huh? I guess that's the one they had in the show. Which one was it? Uh-oh. What?
It was that one, but you just go back on.
Go back, yeah. Well, no, I did go back when they had one. Okay. So here we've got banded coral, a little shrimp. Okay, quickly we'll go through these. Now, a secret for underwater photography is really to move slowly. As soon as I teach any class on underwater photography, the first thing I say is be in one with the water. You have to have your buoyancy totally under control so you can hover in front of a creature like this and watch it have dinner. These are 2 of about 12 slides I got watching that arrow crab, which was about 12 inches from my camera lens, eat. I was just hovering there, blowing bubbles. He didn't care as I was watching him eat. By the way, this crab, that's a hairy clinging crab, is a fun crab if you turn your, go pseudo, turn the glasses upside down. This is one of those great images where you can have an unstuffed crab and you close you flip the other way, you have a stuffed crab. Anyway, it doesn't work nicely with all images, but that particular one's kind of neat. And you got little tiny crabs that live with the anemone, and again, kind of into the biology here. A lot of good camouflage. That tiny crab the size of your thumbnail sitting on a big sponge. There's a crab there. And this is a banded coral shrimp. And of course, the next part of our show is going to deal with sex. We have to have a bit of that every once in a while here in these programs and in life to keep the species going. Here's a female being fertilized by the male. The eggs are the green on the female there, and the male's got his arm lovingly wrapped around her tail over there. And here's a slipper lobster. There's a pair of slipper lobsters. This is during mating season. They're checking each other out. This is in the reproduction part. No, they're not mating. Actually, when they mate, they stand up on their tippy toes like that, and they actually release the eggs into the water. And I don't have that in 3D, but this September I hope I might, or they might have done it by the time I get down there. They release their eggs into the water. That's a 2D picture of that. And after the brittle stars release their eggs into the water, then the coral spawns, and the brittle stars are waiting. Now, if you look at the coral over there, it's about to release its eggs into the water. And this happens anywhere between 10:15 and 11:15 on the 5th or 6th day after the full moon in September, and again in October. It's that precise. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. And one whole coral head, which is a colony, will release all the eggs into the water at the same time. And it's really pretty amazing event, like swimming in an upside-down snowstorm. And again, these are other creatures we don't have time to talk about here today, but with the biology. This is all doing. Brittle star is totally stuffed. You ever heard that term, sucking eggs? Well, that's what the brittle star is doing over there, sucking the eggs out before they get eaten. Here's a pair of mating bristleworms. You ever see one of those? Don't touch it. They're worse than porcupines. They will really cause you to hurt. Here's a pair of mating. The picture's a little fuzzy, but one of the very few people on the earth has actually seen this happen. This is a pair of mating soapfish. Only once a year do they get together. They swim solitary for the entire year, except for one night the male and the female do this ballet, then they swim to the surface. Fish, yeah, that's a plain old fish, but I like, there's one in every crowd, huh? Has to be a pain in the neck. The nice thing about it is that flash, that you can move around, you can take it off, you can poke it in little nooks and crannies, and really close up. You don't worry about these creatures, they're not going to bite you. Even that one, that's the way his teeth are normally, believe it or not. He's a good orthodontist. Now, an important part of underwater photography is knowing your subject matter and the like. And this particular eel, his name is Chester. I've known him for about 3 years now. And when I go back in September, hopefully I'll be able to see that little abscess on the roof of his mouth over there with the missing tooth. Hopefully it'll pose to me. But these creatures end up cleaning. Those cleaner shrimp, those scout-related shrimp, will actually go inside the mouth of that eel there and clean his teeth and gills and everything. Here's Chester after having a great cleaning over there. He's in good shape now. Yeah, here's the frogfish who's eating. If you look carefully, you'll see the little bone sticking out on the front of his nose here. Right, that's the first bone of the dorsal fin with a piece of flesh on the end. But he sits out there like a fly fisherman, wiggles it around, waits for fish to come along, and then literally like a vacuum cleaner opens his mouth and sucks in dinner. Yeah, lizard fish. Yeah, just kind of try to get one with the water and don't make any fancy fast moves, and then you can get really close to these critters. If you look carefully, you see two eyes of a flounder in the upper right? See him up there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was a good camouflage picture. Yeah, people have taken a picture of that tube worm over there. Actually, I didn't notice the flounder. So you go up and lay down in front of it and have a staring eye to eye item on. I don't know if they see stereo or not. Because one eye looks in one direction, the other eye looks in, their eyes, they're like in gun turrets. You sit there and watch them, and they're looking around. They see totally different images. I suppose that they can, if they wanted, I suppose, look in the same. I know they could look in the same direction. Their eyes are that mobile, that flexible. But anyway, whoops, that happened again. Okay, guess a lot of different corals. This picture was taken with the acid duplex over here. That rig that I had actually took the light off and hooked it into another nook and cranny in the reef over there. Again, when you're underwater, you not only have to worry about the usual underwater composition, but you're always looking for, occasionally looking for framing things that's possible. Okay, we'll quickly get to the end over here. That's a female right over there, who possibly a few weeks later will turn into a male. That happens on the reef automatically when the number of males drops. Only females are born of that particular species. I call it an ET swim home. What do you think? Yeah, I think. Now, behind you at night, you'll have fish following you, like barracudas and eels. I've actually had eels actually take the dinner, which I was trying to take a picture of fish, and one of these barracudas would come in and take her out for dinner. These sharks. This is at the bullpen, Lynn. Yeah. Dolphins. I spent a week with the dolphins over there, and they were just spectacular creatures. This is just taken with, the two of the Niconuses with a pair of 15mm lenses on them. What I say about the 15s is, you can be fairly close. You don't have a lot of stuff in the way. Here's two dolphins just about to mate. This is actually this pair of pictures actually taken with the actual duplex. You can lay down there at the bottom. It's all snorkeling here. You can lay on the bottom of the dolphins, and when you come up, they come up with you belly to belly. And again, playing games with the dolphins. And I tossed this in for, there we go, just for fun over here, to show that I do something other than underwater also. This, of course, used to be underwater at one time. It's one of the marine caves in Curacao. Okay, lights up, and my goodness. Okay. I think I did everything we did, and it's just 2 minutes past. Oh my goodness. Okay. Any questions? That was a whirlwind tour of underwater, and I hopefully got you really thinking. We got to hopefully get a lot of questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You mentioned that when you're down there, red light or whatever, you were talking about reds disappear.
Yeah.
Is there a way to use a filter on your camera that would compensate for
You
that?
can't add the red light once it's gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You can put a filter on there that'll help cut the blue. There's a tiny bit of red down there. Kodak had a special film one year that was actually, it didn't last very long. It was a special underwater film for snorkelers and the like that actually had very, very enhanced red. But they didn't sell enough to make keep it on the market. Yeah, it was a special underwater film. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
When using the flash down deep, you have it on full color?
I forgot to talk about flash. Okay, with this rig right over here, and actually with the with these other cameras, you can't synchronize the flash. So how did they get all those beautiful flash pictures when I couldn't synchronize them? The beauty of this is at night, it's dark. So I set one of the cameras on bulb. And just before I get ready to take the picture, it's like rubbing your tummy, patting you at the same time. I hit bulb and then click with the other one, and that fires the flash and illuminates both pieces of film. And I've used that with many different twin setups for flash. When you have you can get away with that with very low ambient light. For those of you that would like to, if you have any twinned cameras and you have at night you have a low light situation. This is a very important thing I want to make sure I covered. If you have a very low light situation, and you can get away with having the camera open on bulb just for a moment. Hit it on bulb first. Now, with this rig over here, what I've done is I've actually set, one of these cameras on a very low shutter speed, which means the shutter's going to be open quite a bit longer. Set the other one on a somewhat higher shutter speed, so that and on that's the one I'd set the flash on, and you can actually end up getting away with a little bit better flash synchronization. You follow that, but we're out of time, so anyway. Okay.